Hey, how's it going? This is Mr. Hernandez, and I am going to be guiding you through these notes on the intro to solving linear equations by the elimination method. So as you're copying this down, you can pause it anytime you want. So I'm gonna just translate this. Again, solving linear equations really means where they cross, right? Where two lines cross or intersect. And that's still the goal for this. We're just going to be doing this algebraically using this elimination method. And so I'm going to write down two equations. And with the elimination method, it's always good to number the equations because sometimes you might lose track of which one's equation 1, which one's equation 2. Not with the intro, but with the more advanced type of problems. So our first equation is going to be 2x plus 2y equals 17. And notice that this is not y equals mx plus b, right? There's no, these are in standard form, all right? The second equation is going to be 4x minus 2y equals 7. And just to kind of really, to show that these are not kind of problems where we graph them, I'm going to write both in standard form. And what that means is that they're not in slope-intercept form like y equals mx plus b. Notice that the x and the y are both together on the left side of the equal sign, and then there's a constant term on the right. That's what standard form is called. Okay, so the first step, and I'm going to write it right here next, and this is the intro again, is combine like terms. It's so important, especially when you're looking at something for the first time, to write down, these explanations here to know how you go from one step to the next. Okay, so 2x and 4x is going to be 6x. So notice that the x's are lined up, the y's are lined up, the numbers, the constant terms. So I'm just going to combine like terms straight down. Now, if I have a positive 2 and a negative 2y, that's going to be 0y. I'm going to bring the equal sign down, and then 17 and 7 is 24. Now, this is called the elimination method for the reason that you get to do this instead. You could just cross it out if you want. You don't even have to write 0y because 0 times y is 0, and 0 is nothing. So the thing about elimination method is this, in this case, the x's don't cancel out the y's, but you might have one variable cancel out, versus the other. But that's coming from step 1, combining like terms. And again, this is the intro. So you might, as you get more advanced, you won't be able to do this in the beginning to cancel it out. But yeah, this is just, introductory notes. Okay, so now I'm going to rewrite this. 6x, I'm going to rewrite the equal sign, rewrite the 24. Okay, now I'm going to solve. So step 2 is solve. In this case, we're going to solve for x. So then you look at this, x is not by itself on the left side of the equal sign. We got to get rid of this 6 in front, which is a coefficient. You could draw a dot there to really show that it's multiplying as a coefficient. So to get rid of a coefficient, we're going to divide it by itself. And that's how you can cancel out the coefficient there. X is brought down, equal sign is brought down. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So we've solved for x. Now let's go back to what we're doing here. We're solving linear equations where we're gonna see two lines intersect. And when two lines intersect, they have an x and a y, right, as the coordinate. So we have half the answer. Now we're gonna plug it in. So here's step 3. After you solve, we're gonna substitute or plug in. In this case, we have x equals 4 into one equation. And it doesn't matter which equation that we plug it in, but it does help to keep track of, like, okay, this is 1, this is 2. So if we choose to do the first equation and plug in x equals 4 into here, it'll be 2 times 2, or 2 times 4, right? Because x equals 4. So this would be 2 times 4. And in this case, it'll be 4 times 4. So you'll do it with an 8 here versus a 16 here. Plus there's a negative. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into, but in my mind, I'd plug it into the first one just because the numbers are smaller and there's no negatives. So I'm just going to rewrite this first equation from up here, and I'm going to, again, label it as equation 1. And I'm going to substitute x equals 4. So that means that wherever you see x, you're going to put in the 4. So because it's 2 times x, the 2 and the x are touching, I'm going to do 2 times 4. A lot of times students choose to put parentheses around it as well if you substitute, and that's okay to do as well. And then I'm just going to bring down the plus 2y, bring down the equal sign, bring down the number. So that's all I did here, was I substituted x equals 4 right here. And then the next step, this is actually step 3, huh? Step 4 is to simplify and solve for, in this case, we're going to solve for y. Imagine if the x is canceled out, we would have solved for y first, and then we would have solved for x. So it all, it all depends on which variable gets canceled out, but you'll basically get, solve for both, one first, then the other. Okay, so we're going to multiply. That's the simplifying part. 2 times 4 is 8. And then I'm going to bring down the plus 2y, bring down the equals, bring down the 17. Okay, so now we're solving. And so in order to solve, we're going to do PEMDAS backwards. And that means that here we have an 8 that's adding, a 2 that's multiplying to the y. So instead of doing multiplication first and then addition, which is PEMDAS, we're going to do PEMDAS backwards to solve for y. So we're going to get rid of this plus, this positive 8 by subtracting 8. And then now we have the positive 2y, or just 2y, equals, what's that, 9? Okay. And let's see. Now we're going to divide by, I feel like I'm making a mistake, but we'll see. I'll show you how to check your answers right now. Now we're going to divide by the coefficient, and then we have y equals 9 over 2, which is like 4.5, 4.5. Okay. So the last step, once you solve for both, the last step is to write the solution as a coordinate, which is a point, right? So I'll put here the solution, and then is and then x first and then y. So we solve for x here, now we got y, so it's going to be 4, 4.5. Okay, and that's going to have the box. So these are like the kind of mini answers, and then this is like the main answer, the solution. Okay, let's do the check. So we're going to go into Desmos. I'm going to plug in both equations, which are going to give us lines. So 2x plus 2y equals 17. And our next equation is going to be 4x minus 2y equals 7. Okay, so we see that there's a red and a blue line, and if we tap them right in the middle where they cross, it is 4, 4.5. So I don't know why these scales are so messed up. Let me see. That's better. Okay. So yeah, that's the point where they cross, and that is actually the point that we got. So you can always check it by graphing, but this is the way that you'll show the work. and these are the steps. Okay, so there's 5 steps here, but you may end up doing more as you get more advanced in terms of this elimination method. But the key is that they're in standard form, and you're still looking, and you're doing this method to see where the two lines cross. Okay, take care.